Hello everyone, welcome back to Archangel RC. This video is something of a part 2 to the range test one, and in it I will focus more on the experience of using the RC7 Pro system during an actual flight, including some minor issues I found and some cool things you can do with SIYI gear and a zoomable gimbal. But before we dive into it, I just wanted to let you all know that starting with the range test video, I added memberships to this channel, which is one more way you can use to support my work should you choose to do so, which would be very much appreciated. And you do get some perks for it, especially with the live streams that might be coming your way. But now, let's dive into this video. As already mentioned in the previous one, I did disable the wireless adapters on both my phone and laptop and used USB tethering from the phone to provide internet to the laptop in order to eliminate any possible interference getting into the radio for the range test. Actually, I wanted my laptop to have internet because during that test, I was also testing the streaming capabilities of my gear, which is in preparation for my in-field live streams of the UniRC 7 Pro range tests that you lot will hopefully be enjoying. Now, the reason why I decided to disable the wireless adapters is because when looking at the specs of the UniRC 7 Pro system, I noticed the frequency ranges it uses are pretty much the same as what your Wi-Fi router at home would use, and that goes for both 2.4 and 5.8 GHz bands. Hence, also what the frequency of the hotspot from my phone would be, hence why I decided to disable the wireless adapters around me, just in case. Now, in all probability, the 2.4 GHz band is the one that actually makes the long range possible. So if you can switch the phone's hotspot to the 5.8 GHz band, in theory it should not cause any issues for the 2.4 GHz side of the UniRC 7 system, and that includes the Pro and non-Pro versions. So potentially you might still be able to use a Wi-Fi hotspot and not degrade your maximum achievable range with this system. Furthermore, in my quest to give this system the best chance to do the maximum range possible, I did notice the user manual advises that the antennas on the model be placed with the flat side towards the radio on the ground if possible. So for a range test in which I go in only one direction away from me and then back towards me in a straight line, that would mean you would have to rotate them with the flat bits in the direction of travel. So basically you get 2 free air brakes, and I hope they won't affect efficiency too much. Before we get going though, I would like to thank my friend Ivo for whatever aerial shots I have from this flight. He recently got the DJI FPV drone and we've been having some fun with it. Might not be so good for bashing around the woods at speed, but it is brilliant for chasing planes out in the open where no trees can break it. And it certainly is fast enough to keep up with most of them. And this one almost got snatched. As he was chasing me, I turned left. For some reason he turned right. And in a bit, a bird of prey of some sort took interest in it and looked like it was about to grab it, but I guess he decided something else at the last moment since the drone returned without a problem to us. But still, straying from the path, which I have said before you, my child, carries risk. So, before heading to the mountain, I put the MFE Hero in loiter mode for a few circles to get my bearings and see how the system works. And yes, the R1M camera is still reversed horizontally, plus for some reason it is very overexposed. This definitely needs to be corrected. It is pretty unusable in these snowy conditions. I also noticed something else. While on the ground, I had started the gimbal's raw stream recording, but when I switched to the R1M camera for the takeoff and then back to gimbal, at some point I noticed the stream recording had stopped. Turns out, when you swap streams like that, the app would stop recording, so keep that in mind. On the topic of the radio link, it might be just me, but I felt like whenever the DJI gear was powered, the video from my plane will get a bit choppy and laggy. Could just be me, but this wouldn't be the first time I am seeing this effect with a powered DJI product somewhere near me with a SIYI system. DJI links generally weigh heavy on other gear for sure. They are very selfish this way. But my friend landed, switched everything off, I switched the plane to cruise mode and headed for the mountain. As the flight progressed, I did keep going into the menu to look at the link status data, which was pretty annoying, so SIYI, please add this data to the OSD overlay in the main view of the app, where it can be easily seen at a glance, without having to dig through the menu, which also obstructs more than half of the video feed, thus increasing the risk of missing something important. I did play around with the gimbal a bit, zooming in on the mountain top, and you can see the radar tower and the mushroom building, as we call it. Though I have to apologize for the jumpy video, I still have not balanced this prop and motor together. At this point I did try the thumb joystick for it. Look here. These two movements were made using it. There is no way to make it move any smoother or slower. This is way too sensitive and aggressive for this level of zoom. When using a finger on the screen to move the gimbal, at full zoom you have very fine control. This is what this joystick should be capable of, but it is not. So it does not make it very practical for gimbal control in my opinion. I fared pretty good using the screen to move the gimbal around, and having the zoom on the left dial wheel did work well, as you can move and zoom at the same time. Once you get used to using the screen and how the gimbal moves, it becomes noticeably easier to keep something in frame once you're fully zoomed in. On the way back, after the video feed and the gimbal controls stabilized a bit, I did play around with it and took some amazing shots of the plane, the sun, the mountain. It was an amazing view with the fog down there in the low parts and hill and mountain tops sticking out of it as islands out of water. And looking back at the mountain top now, the image looked a lot more stable, perhaps because the motor was running with a lower throttle. I guess I really should get around to balancing that motor and prop. The gimbal would definitely benefit a lot. Being able to get that close to the mountain from this side and not experiencing immediate video signal loss is encouraging, so perhaps at some point in the not too distant future I might try to get this plane up there and see if there will be any issues with the system or the signals. Could be the issues are only when you're coming at it from the other side, due to the something which is causing the issue being on the other side. So we will see. Another thing that bugs me a lot about the UniRC GCS app, in addition to the link status data being stuck in the menu, are the battery current and milliamp hours spent indicators, which are currently only visible when you tap on the battery voltage indicator in the top right part of the screen, but then if you tap somewhere else on the screen, for instance to move the gimbal or tap a button, it disappears. So basically if I want to look at it, you should not touch the screen, or remember to open it again once you're done touching the screen, which is pretty annoying. My suggestion would be to leave that there, but if you tap to open it, make it so that it doesn't hide when I tap elsewhere on the screen or go into the menu. Only hide it when I tap on the battery voltage indicator again. Give us the option to keep it open for as long as we need, regardless of what else we do in the app. Another thing that I would like to see is the total distance traveled indicator, so please add that one in there in a next app update. And same goes for the armed and disarmed indicators. Currently there are none. But please add a notification somewhere that would clue you in on the state of the model, because this is related to safety, so it is important. And all of these suggestions are valid for both the Android and the Windows apps. Now, as I was coming in for the landing, I noticed something else that was not working as it should: the artificial horizon. Or at least what I thought should be an artificial horizon. The indicator would bank in the direction the plane is banking, but if that is an artificial horizon, that is wrong. The idea of an artificial horizon is to show you where the real horizon is relative to the plane's attitude. Or in other words, when your view in the camera, a static camera, not a stabilized one, rolls to some direction, the idea of the artificial horizon is to show you how much the plane has banked relative to the real horizon. This one rolls with the plane. So it might be argued that it could be useful for a situation where you are flying through a stabilized camera and you want to be aware of the model's attitude, but in general it should work the other way around, which is what I'm used to, so this was very weird to watch. Having talked to SIYI about it after the flight, it turns out that this is not an artificial horizon, but a plane attitude indicator. So basically it shows you which way the plane is banked, which would be useful for flying via a stabilized camera. Just this morning they have confirmed to me that they have agreed to add an artificial horizon to the app's update path, so we should get it at some point in the future. But to swing back to good things, after probably over 90 minutes of operation, the radio had lost only about 9% of its battery, though keep in mind that those percentages tend to drop down a bit quicker at the lower end of the scale. But even so, this is quite impressive, and I had screen capture running almost the whole time and the raw video stream recording as well, so I do believe it might actually make it to 8 hours as the specs claim. However, I did notice that the timer starts when you power the drone, not when you arm it, so SIYI, please fix that. I want to know how long the flight had lasted, not how long the plane has been powered. So that mostly exhausts my list for this video, so let's call it a wrap. In the next UniRC 7 Pro video, I will go into more detail about some of the seemingly trickier functions of this radio and clear up how some things work, as this radio has some pretty nice capabilities. All relevant links are in the video description below. If you have enjoyed this one, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and notify so you never miss an update. A huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters, any members who might have joined after I made this script, and anyone who has and is supporting this channel. Happy flying, and I will see you in the next one.